Mickey. Mickey. Mickey the gardener cat. Yes, Mickey. 15 years old that cat is, people. July 4th. 2026. We're gonna go out to the greenhouse. Go check the greenhouse. We'll go this way. Mickey's under my feet. Yeah, Mickey the gardener cat. Life will never be the same. How old can cats get? 20 years old? She's 15 now. She's still running around out here with me. Yeah. I haven't been back out here yet. My eyes got worse. They got worse. I think I'm going to phone the eye doctor. I don't know, maybe he can give me some eye drops or something. It's looking good though, but I have to get into the rabbit hutch first. And get the old hay, and I'm pretty sure there's rabbit pellets in there. And I'm going to dig them into the ground. Right? And then I'm going to put the cardboard on top. And then I'm going to put, what is that called? Landscaping material over it. And then I'm going to put a bunch of new hay on top. I'm going to leave it like that for a long, long time. See, I left my coffee cup. It's been sitting there for 2 days. Holy crumb. Oh, I should have brought a sweater with me. Yeah. Hold on. Alright, so the door was opened. Honestly, I can't really see that well. It's getting dark. They're already flowering. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I can't see nothing in here. This is taking off like a rocket. You can see what it's doing there. Definitely smell tomatoes. Right. Yeah. This is very good greenhouse. I have to still work on it though. There should be a tomato here. I don't see it now. It looks like somebody came and took it. Honest to God, man. Oh wait, maybe that's it there. No, there was a huge one in here. Where did the huge one go to? Oh my God, people stealing freaking tomatoes. Maybe here, maybe that's the one I see. All right. There's a few over there. There's some. Oh, okay. This is obviously Swiss chard. All right. What's this? Tomato branching off. This is basil. Oh my Lord. So when was I doing the yard? 4 days, 3 days ago? It really does impact my eyes when I'm doing intensive labor. Yeah. When we have our annual general meeting, assuming everything goes okay, I'm going to use a bit of this for a, what is it? I'm going to use that for shredded carrots, sliced celery, probably some of that basil, with a head of that sliced very thin, mix it all up, and then I'm just going to use a Kraft dressing, more than likely an Italian, or it could be a ranch or something like that. Maybe I'll give people a choice, because we're trying out something with a dinner, right? We'll see how it goes. but I'm having issues. I don't want to harp on it. I don't want to really get into it outside of, and I'm not supposed to take it personal because I'm not the only one that gets picked on. But it's more than picking, right? It's beyond picking. It's way too aggressive, and it's uncalled for, and it's very disruptive where, you know, this is Swiss chard that went to seed. Oh my God, what is that? Something scratching. What's scratching? Oh. Anyway, I just wanted to see if they needed water. Doesn't feel like that. You don't want to overwater them. I mean, I could give some of them a little bit of water, I suppose. Just a little drink, maybe. Yeah, this one's dry. Sorry. Yeah, this one's dry. Okay. Just so you know, this little plant here, which has gotten quite big, was just a stem. It was a stem that broke off one of these plants, and I just stuck it in there because I heard they will root, and it did. As long as it's like has a little something like that, it will start to reroot. It's just a little stem. Yeah. So I'm going to I'm going to transplant this one into a bigger planter pot now. Right? Okay. So it's July 7th, 2026. Oh, at 6:35 a.m. in the morning. I'm cooking for Amari. This is why his blood is coming out good, not lacking any nutrients. I would assume, because for a child like Amari, I happen to be one of those people that does this on a regular basis, and, you know, think about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And so what we're doing is we've got, I'm not sure if that's a sweet potato or a yam. It really wasn't that orange from what I could tell, but then maybe it is. So either or, medium size. I cut off, I don't know if this will grow or not. I'm going to put this in the ground, and when it grows leaves, you can actually eat the leaves. So I'm not trying to grow quote unquote sweet potato, as maybe I'll grow some leaves. Put that in food, right? We'll try it. We'll see what happens. I'll put that in the greenhouse. I was going to put it outside, but I think I'll try it in the greenhouse. So, I don't know, people. So I think I'm just going to focus on... So yeah, so what we got is a fairly size yam or a sweet potato. I think sweet potato. Just by the shape of it, and when I was peeling it, it was quite light, right? A little teeny weeny potato, so just a very small little white potato, and an apple, a whole apple that's sweet. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil that, and then because it's a fair amount, I'm going to use the bigger blender, the old school 1960s blender, because they're the most reliable, and their motors are durable and can grind for a fairly long time, versus these new things where you have to give them time to cool down. Now mind you, the older ones too, you know, depending how long you go, but that you could tend to work them like a workhorse, right? All right, so I'm going to use that. I'm making I don't know where I put it. Oh Lord, I'm so tired right now. I've got so much on my mind. Not sure if I should talk about it though. Hold on a minute. Yeah. I'm that mouse in a maze with a cat at every exit. And one running around stalking me in the maze. Well, probably more than one. Anyway, I really like these. These are really nice. They're expensive. I think $8 a container or something like that. But they're worth the investment. So, being that that's a big pot of, we'll just say sweet potato, a little potato, and some apple, when I grind that up, it will go on the larger size. Between two of them at least. Right? And then I am going to do well, this is pink salmon. I prefer Sockeye because it tastes better, and based on when I read, you know, the nutrients and yada yada, it tends to have a bit more vitamins and higher concentration, from my understanding. Now, I'm not going to go looking for a can of Sockeye, so I thought I pulled out Sockeye, but clearly this is pink. But this is still good. Unfortunately, I can't read what they're listing here. Maybe I'll go look at it, just as a reminder. And just because they don't list a certain particular nutrient doesn't mean it's not there. Okay. All I know is by giving Amari mainly sockeye salmon quite regularly in combination with sardines. This is a milder tasting than your regular can of sardines, but he'll eat both, right? So every now and then I switch them up. So we have this, right, if we want. So he eats sardines, salmon. Those are the two main groups of fish that I feed him. Because, you know, basically taking it out of a can. I don't cook with fish per se, right? So, yeah. And that's, I would think, maybe one reason why his blood count comes out good, and maybe a little high in selenium, because selenium, I don't know. All I know is that the email that I got in regards to, you know, his body with the right minerals and vitamins and yada yada, the selenium was a little high, but it's a water soluble, so the body once it gets what it needs, will flush out what it doesn't, right? I would assume through urine or something like that, right? So, and the reason his is probably that way, in terms of a little high, is because I give him a fair amount of meat regularly, right? We know that. From all groups, right? Lamb is, even though it's considered a red meat, it's really, really high in nutrients. Beef is very, very, and not ground beef, but beef, right, is very high in nutrients. And then, you know, turkey and chicken and pork and, yeah. So, I don't know, people. I don't know. I don't know who's going to do this for Amari when I can't do it no more. No. Do it with because they want to. Not because they have to. Because if they have to, they won't. They'll find a way to skirt it. Or they'll be mediocre about it, right? But if they want to, then, you know, they'll get creative, they'll get better at it, you know, it'll be better for Amari. Yeah. I wish I could tell you what's really on my mind in terms of how I feel like I'm being cornered and boxed in that maze where there's a cat at every exit as another one stalking me, or maybe two, inside the maze. Yeah. And not because they're trying to help me or anything like that. Been through too much in my life to know that for sure. What people say and what people do are oftentimes two separate things. Oh my God. Andre? Be bigger now, eh? I sent him to the dollar store. Getting more freedom now, right? So he goes there and I said, well, while you're there, why don't you cross over at Lucky's? That's a grocery store that's run by Asian people. So he goes there. You know, I give him a little list to buy. Whatever. He comes back. He has more than $40. Well, yeah, he has about $40 and change or something. I gave him $60. He basically bought everything that I wanted him to buy, for the most part. You know, and he got bread, he got bananas, he got 4 beautiful tomatoes, because I told him, you know, like, we need to find a way to cut back on food spoilage. So he put 2 in the fridge and 2 are out on the counter, and just got them yesterday, right? Because if I leave them out on the counter for too long, it's so hot up here and the air is weird that, you know, they can start getting moldy right away. You know, to one degree, it depends, I guess, suppose how old they are in the store, but besides that point, right? And I wanted a few peppers, right? Because the peppers I had just... So I'm going to feed the dirt as I'm building up that bed, the outside, right? I said, no, we'll just start with some fresh peppers. He ends up getting peppers that's red, big red peppers, like this, for 69 cents each. He comes home, he has a bag of peppers, red. I said, well, how much you pay for that? Like, how the hell did you get away with paying just $14 for, you know, bananas and this and that? And, you know, he bought bananas, he bought bread, right? He bought 4 tomatoes. He came home with a big bag of freaking red peppers. He bought me a couple of batteries from the dollar store and some bags that I need to start sorting out paper. And, you know, I gave him $60 and he's got more than $40 in change. And I'm like, how the hell did you do that? That's pretty good shopping, Andre. so 69 cents for one pepper. I said, you gotta be kidding me. No, no. I said, well, you need to go back and buy 3-4 more bags. Yeah, so he did. So I have to process these peppers. I'm going to try and chop up a few and freeze them and then vacuum seal them after they're frozen in, right? Just a few. I don't have a lot of freezer space, so we'll do just a few. And then, because they're cheap right now, and I got a jar sitting right here waiting for something to go inside of it. Another one, I got 2 there, right? I said, well, we could dehydrate them, but, got to kind of eat them up soon. You don't want to let them sit for a couple of 2, 3, 4 years because they oxidize. I don't think they necessarily go bad as they get darker and darker and darker, right? Because of oxidization. So, I don't know though. I think if I'm going to tackle some of them today, one way or another. The easiest is to just cut them up, dehydrate them, throw them in a jar, and use them regularly, right? So I'm really thinking to do that. Because to buy one pepper like that normally is almost $4. I said 69 cents for a whole pepper, and they're quite large. Okay, well, you need to go back and buy some more. So I'll probably be doing some peppers here, and maybe I'll get Andre to wash them and cut them and put them on the dehydrator tray, because I'm kind of teaching him how to do these things, and that's something he can do. So, and then use them when you're cooking rice. Use them when you you can use them like rehydrate them and then use them for vegetable stir fries with chow mein, right? Blah blah blah, right? Yeah. So, but does anybody care? No. No. They wouldn't. They'd be like, you're wasting your time. Yeah, okay. I'm wasting my time. So, what I'm doing is the sweet potato with a little potato, an apple. After it's, and I'll use part of the juice, keep the juice after it all boils down, because, right, it has nutrients in it. So whenever I can use these juices, I do. And then, of course, there will be 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter within the pot itself, and then I'll blend them up. That will be one side, right? And then this, I like to put fresh celery with it and grind it up with fresh celery. So maybe that offsets sockeye again is a better tasting salmon. So with or without, I'll just use sockeye with mayonnaise or whatever. But being that this is a pink, definitely smooth over that fish bite taste with some celery. So I will cut up some celery and grind up the celery with the salmon. Preferably try and use the juice, because when you can fish, sardines or whatever, some of the nutrients that are in the fish actually leach out and go into the liquid itself. So if you throw out the liquid, you're throwing out the nutrients that were in the fish, not realizing that they leached out and they're now in the liquid, and you're taking away those nutrients by throwing out the liquid. So I use the liquid as much as I can to grind this up, and it usually works out pretty good with a bit of mayonnaise. Yeah, so liquid first and then top it off with the mayonnaise, and because I'm adding in the celery, right, it gives it more bulk, right? And then that would go on this side. And so what will happen is he'll get some of this today, right? So I'll make 2 sweet potato, 1 with salmon. Where's the smaller part? 1 with the salmon and the sardine, or sorry, celery. This one will be sweet potato, but I'll put something else here, which I just got 2 fresh spinach. So I'll probably cook that with some kale, because I have kale or bok choy or something, some kind of a green, and I'll cook it up, grind it up, and then I'll put it on this side. Right? Now, if you're going to cook pre-cooked spinach, all right, through my reading, yada-dee-ya, it is best not to reheat spinach, because as soon as you reheat spinach, it changes its molecules, and the nutrient that your body benefits from, and I think it's called a nitrate, goes into a nitron, if I remember correctly. I wrote it down. I should bring it out and just, yeah. And if it goes into a nitron and you eat enough of it over a period of time, yeah, the FDA and yada-yada have determined that it could be carcinogenic, right? It can cause problems. Now, I don't go around heating up spinach all the time. And oftentimes, when I do stuff like this, you know, it's good cold too, right? Although I do get Andre or myself to warm up from time to time as well, because warm food is good, right? So in a situation like that, if I had pureed spinach on this side, he could either eat it cold, which he would because he likes spinach, and if you were to warm it up, I just wouldn't bring it up to a very high heat where it can potentially change the molecules within the spinach. Just bring it, you know, up lightly where, you know, it's slightly warm, not cool, but not hot, right? Just, you know, yeah. So I have to tell that to Andre. So definitely 2 of these. And whatever his first meal is for the day, I suppose. Being that I'm only filling up one side with salmon, but if you do the math, you know, I don't know. Okay, so for something like this, right? So I'm grinding it all up for him. This is about 2 small sticks of celery, you can see. I like to chop it up fairly fine, so, right. And then put some of that in there, start grinding, and then use the liquid first. Did you know you can use cans for English muffin making? So, I grind up the skin, the bones, all of it. And I try to use the juice, right? And then top it off a little bit with, what is that called? A bit of mayonnaise or yogurt or something like that. Andre prefers to use, see, now I'm putting in some of the juice. So what's going to end up happening here is, oops, I am going to get another bowl, and as I make this, I am just going to put it all into one bowl, mix it all up, and then divide it. Well, I have to see how much is here after it's done. Hold on. So I haven't used any mayonnaise yet, right? That's just the celery, some fish with some juice. Now, being that I've got a bit of juice in there, I could add in some if this isn't grinding up right. But from what I can tell, and the way I'm feeling it, still has to be grounded up a bit more. Can't even have a little bit in there, like chunks or whatever, and I can feel them. But you can see what the, right? It's starting to feel good, look good. Well, I don't know about look. That's the part that gets me into trouble. That's the part that where the cats are, you know. It's like an injured bird. I'm like an injured bird with a whole bunch of cats watching. So when I get to this point, see, I still may want to flavor it because it's the stronger fish. So hold on a minute. Okay, so I decided to put the salmon in that bowl because it's a little runny, but that's okay. As we need, we take out, right, by spoon. And you have to check it with your finger, right? Like when I'm pouring and I'm putting wherever, I'm checking with my finger because not only sometimes grinder, it doesn't matter if it's that grinder, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it misses, right, and doesn't get everything. So you have to take them out. Or in this situation, a little piece of celery got, I guess, in the bowl, or it was somewhere anyway, or maybe it feels kind of got grounded a little bit. That would be enough to cause a problem for a mom. You gotta have patience for this stuff, you know. And I don't know, people. And then after it's all grinded up, I go like this. And I feel as I'm pouring into the bowl, right? And then I'll, depending on what it is and how many, you know, pieces I found in there, really, really small, I will even double check in the bowl, right? So basically what I did is, so I'm going to leave it in there like that for now. This is not a very good lid for this. So, and then I'm going to work on the spinach. I got 2 fresh spinach, so I want to cook them up right away. And maybe I'll do spinach and egg. Yeah, like I will do scrambled egg with butter, and then the spinach, cook it, grind them up separate, and then maybe I'll combine them. I don't know, for this side. I don't know yet. I have to think about it. Or I got bok choy downstairs. I could probably cook up that and combine it with the spinach, but kind of defeats the purpose when it comes to calcium, right? You know, I work really hard, eh? And like, I don't know, people. Let's just say I don't trust this process that I'm finding myself in with the Ministry of Children and Family Development. I understand what they're doing, yeah. But at the end of the day, the options that are on the table in terms of extended care, I don't care where it's coming from, is, well, unviable, meager, restricted, unpredictable, unstable, throughout the whole chain of command. One is resigned to put Amari on a feeding tube, and then when done doing whatever doing, it's just going to put him in a group home and move on when it's time to move on. Don't ask me where Andre's going to go. Don't ask me where I'm going to go. Outside of, I guess, Amari's going to go into a group home or a foster home or a freaking institution. So it's not like I can make any roots with that situation in terms of long-term stability. And then the other option for me is, well, we could phone up Sonia Johnson and have her step up to the plate and take Amari, as if that's the one that abandoned Amari when he was on his birthday and then tried to blame me. Well, her son didn't show up for the last 3 visits, and that's why she just basically dropped the ball, because she had already dropped the ball. Right? Especially with his special needs. Yeah. It's like Andre says, it would be different now if he could just get up and walk around and do things for himself. I said, I know, Andre. I know. But we love him. So, you know. We do the daily grind. We don't complain. Speaking of doing the daily grind and not complaining, and that we love him, now that I've been, you know, I'm on that, like, not only am I on the mission to, I need to plug this camera in or something, to, you know, keep his blood healthy, right? Okay? I mean, obviously, weight has always been an issue ever since he's been little, right? But if he had if he had bad blood, lacking this, lacking, being as skinny as he is, it would be a much more serious situation in terms of his health, because his blood helps to keep him healthy, right? It's hard to put weight on him for various reasons. All right. And I am going to go see the neurologist very soon, and we're going to talk more in detail around that situation where there's just certain parts of his brain that have been damaged, that have shut down either hormones to help regulate weight gain, or just shut down the pathway altogether, people, because of being, it's like my eyes, octave nerves. You have 100 octave nerves in your eye, and when you get down to 15 left, and you've already lost, what, 85? Is it 85? Yeah. You've lost 85 octave nerves, and you got 15 to maybe 12 to 15 octave nerves that are somewhat working. What do you think you're going to get in eyesight? And you only got 1 or 2 left out of 100 in this one. Well, it's the same, and they don't come back. They can't fix them. They can't have them regenerate and regrow, repair, nothing. Once they're done, they're done. Well, that's the same thing with parts of the brain. All right. So with that said, because children like Amari tend to suffer with constipation, yada yada yada, you know, so you're battling the weight, you're battling the immune system with the blood and everything, you're battling the calorie count, you know, and then you have to try and move that stuff along when it comes to the food through the bowel system. And, you know, we're at a point where, you know, and I agree with this, because I don't like him being constipated. It's frightening. It can get, you know, those poo parties can go on for a week. And so what I'm trying to say is, we're trying now, you know, it's been suggested to try and shrink down his bowel movements, like shrink the bowel, the intestines down, right? Instead of always being so stretched out and under stress because of constipation. All right. So I'm on that. I'm like really racking my brain hard, doing overtime on that, trying to, you know, I'm cooking up his spinach. I've got some kale over there. I'm not going to combine the two, because if I combine the kale with the spinach, you know, well, I suppose I could. It depends. We'll see. Either or, you know, we've been using this laxative, right? And what's happening right now is it's giving him more and more runny poos, where he's leaking out of his diapers. Oh my God. 2 times in the last 2 days. Last 3 days. 2 times. In the last 3 days, people, I've had to clear out all the blankets that I covered the cushions with, and the towel or whatever, and clothes and whatever, because he's leaking out when he's having a bowel movement that's very runny. Whether he's passing a few chunks or not doesn't matter. He leaked out again last night. You know, Andre and I were doing this at 4 o'clock in the freaking morning between the two of us. We work together as a team, right? To clean him up and everything, because it can happen. Just, you know, you go to check on him and it's like, ooh, what's this? All right, well, there you go. You get a little sponge bath and we got to clear out everything. Get the freaking garbage bags. Start putting everything in the garbage bags so that Nana can wash the freaking blankets and everything that's around it. That pillows, doesn't matter, right? You know, before you know it, I got 2 to 3 full freaking garbage bags, black garbage bags of blankets and towels and pillows and shit, because we have to do that, people, because it's all leaking out from urine. Even when a new diaper, sometimes it sprays in between right? You know, and the people that are maybe gonna look after Amari, my children, maybe. I don't know if they can cope with it, because it's all about money. Not enough money, not enough. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, for crying out loud, man. I get $1,000 from federal government for child tax benefit because of his disability. I only get like $350 or something like that extra on my welfare check. That's it. So we'll cap it at $1,400 to look after Amari. That's house, clothes, clean, whatever, just cooking, you know, the whole 9 yards, right? You know what I'm saying? The government is awesome. The ministry of whatever, MCFD, you know, they're telling my kids, well, if you take them short term, you'd get this per month short term. Right? And I still have guardianship. They have him short term for 2-3 months until we figure out what's going to happen. That's $1,500 right there, tax free. Apparently it's tax free. I think that one is. And then there's another tier in there. I don't know what it is, but I always say, well, if that's the case, then, you know, if it goes long term, then you want to sign them up under the option where I'm signed up with Andre, where you're not really a foster parent, but, you know, you get that 2-year contract. And in Amari's situation, it would be between $3,500 to $4,000 a month. He would still qualify for the little respite, which is about $343 a month, as well as he still qualify for the at-home program. So if he needs a hoist or this or that or whatever, right, that's still being supplied. Like, what more do you fucking want? Oh, well, you don't live in the real world. Well, what are you talking about? Of course I live in the real world. Oh, yeah, you know, oh, well, if I live with you, this is my son, if I live with you, because I said, well, you know, you maybe come back here and yada-yada, I'll go downstairs with the kids and, you know, and then maybe we'll move into another house and yada-yada, because I don't know if I can live with Tisha, because Tisha and Andre, they clash, and I'm already in that, you know, zone where I'm dealing with parent-teen conflict, and I don't need to egg it on and add in a third wheel, even though I'm the third wheel, right? You know what I mean? And my son is saying, well, yeah, well, maybe we could do that, but just don't talk to Marina. Don't ever talk to Marina. I'm like, well, what do you mean, don't ever talk to Marina? Like, when is this girl gonna freaking grow up, man? I'm downstairs, perhaps blind as a bat. Maybe Amari's with me, I don't know. Something happens, and what? I can't. What? Oh, we'll just set up a button and Marina will come down and help you in an emergency. But yet she won't talk to me. Like, would you live with someone like that refuses to talk to you and wants to walk around with a big chip on her shoulder? She just had a granddaughter. What the hell is she going to teach my granddaughter? Hate Nana? But help her if she's in an emergency situation and then be done and happy when she's fucking dead? Like, what the fuck? As if I can move into that situation. And I told my son, like, well, if that's the case, then I just won't move in. You take the kids and I will go somewhere else. Well, I can't abandon you, Mom. Yeah, right. You abandoned me already. Like, you haven't figured that one out. You know? But it's still not enough money. Is it not enough money? Like, what the fuck? You know what I told my son? Go home and put a price tag on your daughter that you just had. I said, why don't you put a price tag on your daughter? Oh, I'm not going to do that. I said, why? If you can do it on Amari, why can't you do it on her? Well, it's different. No, it's not different. We'll call Sonia. Get Julian Johnson's mother involved. Yeah, right. Bring in the stalker bitch. The one with the brain munchers that likes to make threats, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, right. As if they're going to look after Amari. They're no different than a freaking Marina who can't talk and then say, I'm the one that can't talk. I'm the one that does the job. I've already resigned myself to not be involved or to see or to I don't want to say care, because that's a sin, around my son's daughter. I don't expect to see the baby maybe once or twice. That will be it. Because of this vendetta, freaking self-centered, oh, woe is me, but yet bully bullshit attitude. Well, Tisha, you didn't teach me how to read. I'm still listening to that crap, people. I'm going to St. Vincent's. You know that. I'll take Amari for a little while. But it's still not enough money. What the fuck? So the way I see it is the government is imploding my house. Versus trying to build in the safety nets in the actual house with me. The one that does the work. The one that makes an effort. Versus settle for a feeding tube. Or some whatever you want to call Julian's side of the family is when it comes to them. I didn't abandon them. And then blame them for it. And I'm sure in the hell not the one that murdered my daughter. And when you murder people, there are consequences to it, and you cannot expect people to stay quiet about it. So I don't know. I know everybody's just up in arms. They don't know what to think, what to say. But if I have to leave so that they can figure it out for themselves, find their own way, and just, hope for the best for Amari and Andre? Yeah, okay. If you notice, everybody involved, I don't care who they are at this point, they're all getting paid. Well, my kids aren't. But the minute they take Amari, they will. And they'll get paid 3 times more than what I got. And I've had him for over 7 years. Yeah. And that's still not enough. Because our government has made it where the economy is so fricked up that everybody's bloody paranoid about the future and ending up homeless and don't want to take on, quote unquote, any more responsibilities than they have to because they're too busy trying to make money somewhere else so that they can survive the storm that hasn't even arrived yet. Yeah. Yeah. And because Amari requires work and critical thinking skills with the ability to get back up on the horse and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. Whether you get it right or not, at least if you can get it right a half the time or 3/4 of the time, then you're doing something right. So the spinach, what the spinach does is it kind of does what this does, which is a little more manageable if you can just get it right in terms of consistency and the amount, whereas being combined with other foods that hopefully can prevent constipation without relying on this. Because if you rely on this 2 scoops a day, every day, there's not enough money. He's always leaking out. There's diarrhea all the time. Put him on a feeding tube. Then he's constipated. What you gonna do? Pump in the freaking laxative? Yeah. Okay. I get accused of taking Amari and fighting for him on the day that Shimei gets murdered, accepting the responsibility that God gave me. God doesn't give you what you can't handle, right? But I get accused of taking him for the money. Yeah, okay. Look at that. So that's the spinach there, which would be, he's got some in a bowl, so this will be good for half and half and 3 times, right? This you can fill him up with. Plus we've got the salmon in the other bowl. We've got this here, right? Right, which will be good for, because within a day or so. And then I left a little bit here for Andre and I, or because we like scrambled eggs with spinach put in after with this tomato. It's really good, and Amari really likes it too, right? So now I've got that Swiss chard, which I'm going to cook up right now, and put that Swiss chard on the other half of this side with the spinach for Andre and I suppose Mari. That depends, right? Because I can always scoop out. It depends how fast he eats this stuff. And then that little vacant spot in here will be Swiss chard. And that should be enough for a couple of days anyway, not including banana, yogurt, whatever. Yeah. Hold on. So there's that. That's what we'll start with. This has got the spinach in it with sweet potato. And that sweet potato could make oatmeal. Take out some of that sweet potato, mix it in with the oatmeal, grind up the oatmeal. That would be really good. If you're going to warm up the spinach, and like half of what I made here, half of what I'm making here, he can eat cold in with yogurt or whatever, right? Maybe I'll grind up some pears, or he's got bananas or whatever, right? With whipping cream. And then the other half, I like to give him that little extra butter, because the butter is already incorporated into the sweet potato. And I actually didn't put butter this time with the spinach. I normally do. There's a little bit of butter in there, but I forgot. But beside that point, so when I want to warm it up, I'd fill up with sweet potato, right? A little bit of spinach. I wouldn't necessarily warm up the salmon, but whatever, you could, right? And then you just, right, because it's cast iron, and it has a nice little lid on it. Where's the lid? Right here. You know, you just kind of heat it up, and you don't, like, bring it to a boil and all that. You don't need to. You just make it warm, right? And then, so, in terms of those nitrons, or whatever they're called, when you reheat spinach, you're not like bringing it to a high heat. You're at a very low heat. And you, of course, do not microwave. That changes the molecule system within the food altogether. So, you know, I never use a microwave. So now it's almost 10 o'clock in the morning, and I started at 6:30. Well, I actually started earlier than that, but you know, I started boiling the sweet potato at 6:30 or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to put these in the fridge for now. Amari is already awake, so technically, actually, this is nice and warm still. So maybe he can eat this like very soon. We will start with that, and that's what helps with his bowel movements is the spinach, really. Yeah, almost. And then now I'm going to cook up the kale that I have right now because that's what I need to do. And then I'll put his portion on this side. Right? And then whatever's left over in here. And then if I do scrambled eggs, I scramble the eggs, throw in the tomatoes, cook the tomatoes a bit, take the spinach, chop it up, just put it in there enough to warm it up. Andre and I, we chow it down as is, and then Amari, I just take his portion from that, whatever I made, and I grind it up. And he loves it. He loves it. Now, this liquid from the spinach, right? Yeah, I'm just going to finish this video. I plugged it in, obviously. Welcome to my office. Annual general meeting at James Yojama's venue. Yeah, on July 11th, starting at 3 and onward. Dinner by donation. Yeah. Just to open up and see if we can maybe get a couple more extra board directors that maybe can be more proactive and or whatever. This is my last-ditch attempt trying to reach people in terms of being that apex predator where I had vision and everybody else just wants to be sheep. And I don't know, not that I'm a predator because I am not a predator, but apparently I think apex predators have certain characteristics where they, one, tend to be loners, which I happen to be, but the ones that like to run in a pack and have their friends and think that that's whatever it is, and you have no friends, and yeah, well, whatever. I had vision, but besides that point, hopefully somebody else will have some vision. You know, opportunity only comes knocking so many times, and if you don't act on it, it slips from your fingers and it's gone. So back to what I was talking about prior to that, in regards to, you know, looking after Amari and cooking is a big one, right? Don't start squawking. You got your dinner right there. I'm not even putting that in the fridge. You're awake. We're going to feed you that. It's nice and still warm. So, yeah. Right now I'm cooking up the kale, and when I grind up the kale, that will be it. I may or may not do the eggs with the little bit of this and the tomato, and I don't know yet. Because I have to get on to other things, right? I don't know, like, I don't know, I mean, like, I shouldn't be surprised. I'm not surprised, people, but, you know, when I look back and like, when what happened to Shimei, and I went to court, and, you know, those social workers were there, and, you know, I told them Shimei got murdered, and, you know, that's very suspicious, and, you know, and you need to put the brakes on Julian, and you get an investigation going on in here, yada, and they just, well, maybe, maybe Shimei was partying 12 days before she was going to college, and she killed herself. I looked at the social workers that were there at that time. I said, you got to be kidding me. What? And this is in the courthouse, people. A day after my daughter was murdered. Okay? Because I went, right? I served him. And then we had the court date the next day. So within 2 days, we were in court, or whatever the hell it was. And the social workers were there because they called the social workers on me. Tried to say I was a bad nana. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And then after that, oh, she's just doing it for the money. Yeah, right.
Anyway, you know, they got Tisha now taking a criminal check again, getting ready. What? For this to blink out? Is what else is there? Right? They can't say I'm not trying to keep up with the yard. I got video proof of me out there digging and shit. I got to get back out there in the next day or two. Okay? I've been doing porch repairs and freaking greenhouse repairs and, you know, and getting ready to do fence repairs. I've been buying the equipment. I've been buying the materials that need to be, like nails and screws and that kind of Gorilla Tape and whatever. And, you know, I've been paying people to do the same routine extreme yard maintenance over and over and over and over and over and over again, because these weeds are just, morning glory is not a routine yard maintenance freaking task. It's more like an extreme yard maintenance task when it's throughout the whole freaking yard, you know. I do the laundry, you know, and now that they've got me, you know, really focusing on trying to shrink down his intestines, I'm saying don't you dare miss not even one of these laxatives right now at this point, which is making him leak out. And now I'm doing 3 loads of laundry at a time every 2-3 days, right? And not including the regular laundry that I'm doing, because, you know, if it leaks out, it goes on to whatever he's laying on, and he moves. By the time I figure it out, I have to wash it all, right? You know, and then do it again tomorrow maybe, right? I'm cooking for him. I do dishes every damn day. If I miss a day, maybe a day and a half going into 2 days, well, I still do the dishes. You know, I'm sorting out shit upstairs, still taking stuff downstairs, sorting out stuff up here, right? You know what I'm saying? Right? It's like, and they got Tisha doing a criminal check. Tisha said, well, Mom, if you ended up in a hospital because all of a sudden there was an emergency, because she said they're lying. I don't have to do a criminal check right now. What are they, like, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's a deja vu with Sierra. We're coming in with the cops and we're taking Andre, put him in daycare. And what did they do? They took him anyway. And what did it do? It caused a whole lot of cough, a whole lot of psychological damage, a whole lot of everything, and nothing good came out of it in the long term, outside of eventually Andre came back, but he came back damaged. Period. Okay. Sierra ended up homeless and, you know, pimped out for 8 years and lured to her death and murdered and harvested. Wow. That's good business, right? Don't you think? Okay. So now it's like, well, you know, they're not closing the file on me. Nope. Because I'm asking them, when do we get a divorce? Why are you not closing the file? Oh, well, because your eyes or whatever. Yeah, it's the eyes. It's not whatever. It's the eyes. So we need to be prepared, right? So, you know, now we're going to start doing the criminal checks on Marcane and Tisha again. As I'm saying, well, you know, yada yada yada, and then now the pressure is on them, and they're like, whoa, we're not sure if we're ready for that responsibility. And I'm saying, yeah, but, you know, they'll pay you. It's better than what I get, 3 times better than what I get, since people want to accuse me of doing it for the money, and they're all sitting up there saying it's not enough money. Not enough money. You don't live in the real world, Mom. Okay. But the point is they're, you know, expecting them to do criminal checks. We already went through that shit with Andre, and then I'm being told that if I don't do it this way, they don't give me a choice, people. If I don't do it this way, the way they want to do it, like right now, get the kids with the criminal check, get all your ducks in order, meet the support worker because it's coming soon. Right? It must be coming soon for them to be putting this urgency on it. Bringing in a different worker so that Tisha can meet the worker as a support worker to the program that she's signing up as whatever, you know, temporary whatever, or long-term or whatever caregiver, at the cost of this, and this, in terms of what you get paid on 3 different levels, right? You know, 3 different, okay? You know, and I'm just like, holy shit, man. But yet I'm the one doing all the freaking work. Being bypassed. Really? Yeah. Right? I go blind, legally blind, because of negligence through the healthcare system and the government not being able to get a referral, until finally I broke down and went to an emergency office after I went blind. Like emergency department, right? But I didn't know I was blind. I just knew that something happened, like legally blind, right? And then that was in 2023 or something like that, right? At the end, when I finally went to emergency. And then when I put in my application for disability, because I didn't have a doctor, because of the politics within the government and that COVID crap, right? It was denied. So I went 2 years legally blind, qualifying for disability, long-term disability, right? Which isn't much, because I just got it approved, and they only gave me $400 more than what I'm already getting. But now they're plotting and scheming how to take Amari, and making it sound like it's all my fault because of my eyes. And they just want to get their ducks in order, as they're bringing extra support workers, as if those ducks in order are going to go quack, quack in the near future, even though I'm the one doing all the work with the least amount of pay, as people are screaming at me that they couldn't be paid. Give me $1 million and then maybe I'll look after Amari. Well, what's that supposed to mean? As if you're going to get $1 million looking after Amari. And what if I manage to get it in court and he gets himself a little trust fund so that a loving person can look after him? What, Julian Johnson's sister gonna cry, oh, I'll look after him, I want that trust fund? What, my daughter, oh, well, I want that trust fund. My son, oh, I want, or what, some foster care parent from freaking SOS fucking whatever, with that's in good standing with the ministry, wants that money? Like, come on, people, it's too, or is it gonna be made for me? Because if they don't make enough money from Amari, what makes them, do you honestly think they're going to be happy with my little disability welfare check? Which is like $1,500, $1,600 a month? After it's all said and done? 15? I think 15. Yeah. You're not putting enough money into the house, Mom. All you get is a closet. You're out of touch with the real world. Go back into your closet and think about it. And then the other one just wants to dash when the time comes and leave the, what is that called? Damage behind. Right? Who cares? What, Mark Kane gonna come pick up the broken pieces? Yeah, right. It's stupid. Right? Put Amari in foster care? They'll be pumping them up with this, feeding them. You honestly think they're going to do what I do? And even if they did, they'll probably get that pre-made mashed potatoes. Before they cut the potato, boil the potato, grind and puree the potato and all that, the way we do it, with Andre, with the whipping cream and all that, real whipping cream, real butter. They'll just go get themselves a little bag of freaking mashed potatoes to save money and time and cook that up and feed that to Amari, as if that's nutritional, right? And then pump them up with a whole bunch of freaking drinks as they're pumping in that freaking laxative, right? And you know, it's just a matter of time. There's going to be serious consequences around that. Yeah. And then what? Oops, he dies? Yeah, okay. With bad blood. At least I can maintain on his blood. And he's happy and he's healthy. But, you know, it's like I said, it's like deja vu with Andre. Andre was happy and healthy too. And look what they did. They took him and put him on drugs at 2.5 years old, 28 months old, to shut him up from crying, because he wanted to come home. Right? You know what I'm saying? Tortured everybody. Oh, I guess they're not going to torture me or anybody now, because they're just going to hand him over to Tisha, even though Tisha couldn't do what we do, and that's the thing. And if we're there, there's living with her or something like that. I mean, she's got a mouth on her, right? I told her, Tisha, I don't know. You know, you say things that are just totally off the wall, very hurtful, inappropriate, right? You know, and, well, I'm entitled to my opinion. Yeah, right. You're entitled to your opinion. There's a lost generation. It's not just this generation with Andre. It's the freaking, my kids' age with their generation. It's money, 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 money. You can go off and buy a $4,000 couch, but you can't look after a little boy because you want to throw in my face that the mother didn't want him. Well, Shimei didn't want him, so don't expect me. What was that supposed to mean? And it's not that Shimei didn't want him. Shimei didn't want to be criticized for having a child out of wedlock. Never mind have that child with an abusive man. So I said, yeah, you already had these X amount of abortions. You need to stop because next time you get pregnant, if you abort this one, you might not be able to keep it. You'll ruin your body completely. Stop aborting your children. Even if it means I have to stop talking to you. Well, you told Shmei you were going to stop talking to her if she decided to keep the baby. Well, yeah, after the third time, fourth time, or whatever time, it was 2 she already aborted. This was the third. I heard there was 3 in there. I don't know. All I know is that you don't go around using abortion as birth control. Under any circumstances, in my opinion, as a mother that never once abandoned her children. I didn't pick and choose. I accepted the responsibility when it came to me. So anyway, I just feel like people are playing mind effery with me right now. I feel like I have to lawyer up soon. Yeah, I do. And I feel like that whatever is going to happen, I won't be there. If I got to live in a house with my son where I can't talk with a woman in the house that's supposedly supposed to help, there's no point in me being there. I'm not a third wheel. And I'm not somebody to just blow off as a fucking scuzzy slug under a rock. And being that we're still with that mentality, with that stupid shit, I didn't go into nobody's house. I didn't take nobody's shit. I didn't move nobody's shit. I didn't steal nobody's shit. I didn't sell nobody's shit. I didn't throw out nobody's shit. I didn't hide it. I didn't move it. I didn't touch it. But somebody came into my house and destroyed it by doing everything that I just said, and I still haven't been able to play catch up with it yet. Because I'm doing the daily grind with the Amari, whether it's 3 loads of laundry, dishes every day, wiping and cleaning, and lawn and garbage and recycling and organizing and cooking. Give him his cuddle times, bath, whatever it is. Yard, fucking porches, whatever, so that we have a roof over our head, to which I think they want me to implode on the house here now. Right? Start picking away at what little teeny weeny money I have so that I can't afford the rent now because they took Amari and put him someplace where he won't even get the kind of care that he gets with me and Andre. But, oh, Andre can go there. Yeah, okay. There's consequences around that, too. And then what? Throw everything out and stuff me in some closet? I don't think so. No. It ain't happening like that. So anyway, I wasn't going to say anything. You know, it's one of those situations, move in silence, but why? What for? It's like Shimei said, when they took Andre, it's a sham. They're talking about how they want to help me, social workers, but then they remind me it's child protection. I'm working with the Child Protection Office, so therefore they can only offer so much help, and unaffordable housing is not an issue for them. And even when you have affordable housing, it's still not enough, right? Unless, of course, it's to their expectations, even though some of those expectations might put you at risk, like when they told me to clear out by that back door. I cleared out by the back door, and not even 2 days later, somebody opened it from the outside and creeped to my house at 3, 4 in the morning when we were all sleeping. Yeah, and was walking around my house and left the door freaking open. Andre got up in the morning and the door was off its hinges, pulled out, and left like that. They came in that way and they went back out that way. Yeah. Where I had it, ain't nobody was coming in. And technically you couldn't even open that door because it was so freaking dangerous with the glass. But do they care about that? No. It was like freaking cold. That stuff there kept the cold wind from blowing. The wind was blowing in through that freaking glass with that big gaping hole. All the way down and up on top. I don't know. So all I'm now thinking about is maid. That's why the government brought in maid. And they're pushing it so hard into society that even kids are turning their backs on their responsibilities when it comes to family. Yeah. Well, I got my family, you were my family, but not anymore. And if the government can't pay me fucking $1 million within a year to look after you, I don't want nothing to do with you, so they can go the cheap route and sign you up to maid. How about that, right? Sign me up to maid. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to happen to Amari. Honest God, I don't. With this freaking bullshit around me. I don't care where it's coming from at this point. And then throwing my face that I did it for the money. Like, fuck you. I don't care who you are. You could be anybody off this planet. Fuck you. No. So yeah, they assigned this support worker, right? I accepted was pushing. No. But, with the landlord situation and everything, finally I agreed to it, right? Thinking, whatever I was thinking wasn't what they were offering in terms of support when it comes to a quote-unquote housing crisis, outside of to give you maybe a link or a little section within the Landlords and Tenancy Act branch so that you yourself can take it to court and maybe a letter. Other than that, like, I don't know. I'm not finding it to be very helpful. No, not at all. And I told her, I feel like you're spying. Oh, she sees me as a spy. Well, yeah, because you got me talking, yada. Next thing you know it, they're coming in with support workers trying to do criminal checks on my grandkids, and for what? Oh, just to get ready. Well, we already know that. And you don't need to give Amari to Tisha under a temporary situation if something happened fast to me where I couldn't look after him because of whatever, right? Any criminal checks, all that crap, they can be dealt with later, and it's not like you already don't got her on file. And communicate with her and have been, or whatever, just whatever, like, or even Marcane for that matter, because it's a toss-up, right? And, whatever I'm telling you, well, that's in a public forum. It is what it is, right? If I told it to her, there's nothing to document what I said, how I interpreted it, how I'm feeling about it, what my opinion is about it, outside of what she writes when she leaves my house after just being with me for 1 hour. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this because I asked her to write something in regards to what's going on with, the landlord and the gaslighting and the extortion, and I'm paying, and I'm having to do this, and I get threatened with that, and that's where the atom bomb came in from. It was the support worker who labeled the mean grandson to be the atom bomb, right? I just put the ticking part in front. I don't take credit for that. Either or. I've been using it ever since because she's got spot on with it, because it's a ticking atom bomb that can explode at any minute. And I'm out homeless, so then what? You scoop up on Amari and go what? And then what? Tisha doesn't know how to make Amari's food. She's comfortable with putting him on a feeding tube and giving him yogurt and maybe grinding up a little this and a little that, but nothing to the degree that I do, especially now with another baby coming, 3 kids, being super mom, taking them to freaking swimming, and Leia May was doing cheerleading, and she's rolling Kyrie into freaking football or whatever, and just being a super mom, so she can say, well, you didn't do it with me. Yeah, well, my circumstances were different when you were 5, little girl. I had already Uncle John, and already had 4 kids, and as if I could be a super mom, taking you here, there, and everywhere. And anything when it came to school, you're no different than Andre, stubborn as a mule, and you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And just because you can ram it in doesn't mean that they remember, okay? Unless you ram it in for their whole freaking life, and even then they still might not remember, because everybody's an individual. And if they remember, then consider yourself lucky and be grateful that they remembered something for everything that you tried to do for them. Never mind be grateful for anything that you ever did for them as a parent or whatever, right? And I'm like, well, can I read what you're going to write so that there's no misinformation in whatever it is that I'm talking, you're formulating your own opinions, you're hearing what's this, oh, don't worry, I know what, I have what is that called, like a, photographic memory, and you blah, 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 and then she comes back and she says, well, no, I can't write nothing for you, nothing. Anything I write stays private, and the only way you can get that information is by taking it to Freedom of Information to get that privilege to read. But don't worry, everything I write is good. Yeah, okay, well, you know what? I have read MCFD files that were related to Andre, okay? I have read other files that related to Sierra around that issue within the court, and what my lawyer at those days had received from the Ministry of Children and Family Development. I have read medical files. Okay, I have read Shimei's medical files. I have read my medical files. I have read Sierra's, not Sierra's, Tisha's medical files, and I have read Amari's medical files. Okay, and there's a whole lot of misinformation in them. Some more, Shimei, a lot. Me, there's misinformation, misleading information, false documentation. Okay? Same thing with Amari. Okay? In the ministry files, when Andre was going to court, and I got those back from my lawyer, he ended up just giving them all to me, big whack like this. A whole lot of misinformation in there that was misleading. Okay? When I was fighting to get Andre back, and finally it was agreed he was going to come back home, and I had to sit with a social worker, and she took the time to write the things that I was saying based on these questions that she was asking me as I was working in the yard, so that I wouldn't lose the house because of the bull crap around that issue, right? In terms of do the extreme yard maintenance, be the slave that I want you to be, because if you don't do it, you're out of here, okay? And that's just the fact. So that social worker would sit outside under a freaking something shade while I'd be working in the yard, asking me questions. I'd answer the questions. She'd write whatever. Then she'd type, and I'd say, well, before you submit it, let me read it. I would read it, and I'd have to correct the misinformation that she imported on her own to make it misleading, to make it sound like something else, when in fact that's not what happened. Oh, it says in your social assistance file that you cut yourself off of welfare in 2003. That is wrong. I was cut off by the ministry illegally. Nowhere did I cut myself off of welfare in the middle of fucking winter, sorry, boo-boo winter, with 5 dependent children and a blind man, so I could practically be homeless. Go from a 5-bedroom, 2-story house into a leaky freaking 2-bedroom apartment. Yeah, and then end up in some shanty shack, looking after some little girl that the Ministry of Children and Family Development didn't want to look after, and told me that if I didn't look after her, that they were going to take that child away from the mother, which would have put my family back out on the streets 3 months after they already put me out on the streets. With 5 kids. And Uncle John. That's what I'm talking about, misinformation. So they got some support worker coming in here writing whatever the hell she wants, and the only way I can see it is by going through Freedom of Information to fact check, to make sure that she is not misleading anybody. Being that the social workers are coming in with new support workers, signing up my kids with, what is it called, security checks, getting ready to take Amari. But yet nobody wants to take him because it's not enough money, as they point the finger at me and saying that I took him for the fucking money, which is bullshit. Total bullshit. So what? Mari's gonna go to foster care?
Well, he's gonna go to foster care if we don't do it this way.
Oh, okay. Well, clearly I'm in a maze. With a cat at every fucking entrance, there is no escape, with something prowling around, trying to catch me inside that maze, and it's more than one. Everybody wants to cash in. One way or another. Cash in. You gonna get a bonus out of this? Pat on the back, you did a good job? Make a whole lot of money and then dash, go fly on a fucking airplane to some other fucking country and disappear and don't look back? Put me in a closet and ignore me, but say you love me? Yeah, right. I don't think so. And then say I don't do enough? Yeah, right. I just turned off that kale, leave the lid on for a little while, cook it real good. I don't know. I'm going to grind up some for Amari, put the rest of that stuff in the fridge, put the other part in, yeah, and then I got to go outside and do some stuff outside and downstairs. And I've already been up since, I don't know, freaking 3:30 this morning. Yeah, 3:30 this morning. And it's now 10:38. And I've basically been on my feet the whole time. Because I had to wash dishes and shit before I started this crap. Right? And I don't do it for the money. I do it because I love Amari. Right? I bought I'm trying. I don't know if I already showed you this. I don't think so. Because nobody ever told me to shrink his intestines before until I went to the gastro department. But it makes sense. Like I said, when they mentioned it to me, it clicked. Because I've been dealing with this crap for a long time. And it is frightening when he gets whatever. Even when you're using the laxative, unless of course you're prepared to have diarrhea every day or every second day, where you're having to wash 2 or 3 loads of laundry just to keep up with that process, as they tell you to give them more drinks, their drinks, which are not real food, okay? That's just a fact, all right? And they are the worst of the worst when it comes to constipating him. So, not that I can see very well. Oh, Tisha,
Don't say that you can't see very well. You're just making them nervous when you do that.
well, what else am I supposed to say? This one is top protein rich food sources. You can see I spent like $200 on these things. Mineral chart. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. There should be a vitamin one there too. I don't know. I showed that to the social worker when the social worker came with that support worker. Nobody seemed to be interested in it. Oh, it looks like I've already lost some of these. There should be more than that. There's a vitamin one too. I don't know where it is. Anyway, I'll find it. Here's the documentation somewhere in here where it specifically says, and if you notice, just as the truth is coming out about what happened to Amari at the time of his birth in terms of being injured at the time of his birth or right after, as in when they were pulling him out, it's there. And you know I'm going to follow up on it, but maybe that's why the pressure's on. Because we wouldn't want to win in court now for Amari. No. Because he's just a commodity. I know there's something else missing here. Oh, here it is. So we've got the high rich protein, right? We've got the mineral chart and the vitamin chart, okay? So we got those ones, right? And then, and of course this will be good for Andre because he will learn. High iron food list. I don't have to worry about iron. I'm the only one in British Columbia, Canada that has a child that goes to the children's hospital who doesn't have to worry about iron, but I thought I'd educate myself on it anyway. Because that's one thing I never think about. So to hear that he's the only one out of that whole hospital with his special needs, his type of special needs, who doesn't need iron supplements, says something. But yet everybody around me is plotting and scheming for what? For what? To be helpful? Anything that I've said to you, does it all sound like they're trying to help? Who are they helping? Themselves? Whether it's job security and a bonus, or whether it's how much do I get paid and how little do I have to work, and where you stand in the fray in terms of how I'm going to be treated. Right? Because if I'm there, I have to accept to be treated in a bad kind of way versus in a good kind of way, because ain't nobody doing anything for the right reasons, ultimately. And that's just a fact. Okay, so this one is another protein food chart, okay? Just as a comparison, right? And it gives the logistics in terms of the serving size, the amount of protein, and the amount of calories per whatever it is. And you're looking at beef, poultry, grains, fish and seafood. I would think pork would be here, but I don't see it. Maybe down here. Grains, plant-based, I don't know. And then it goes into dairy, fruits, nuts and seeds, legumes. Yeah. Why do I not see pork here? Beef. I just made Andre a whole bunch of beef jerky. Right? Did anyone notice that? Spent $200 in meat and made a whole bunch of beef jerky. And Mark Hain came by and said, "Oh, you're looking like you're buffing up." I said, Andre, and Andre said, Uncle Marcaine says I'm buffing up. And I said, that's all that beef jerky you're eating now. Yeah. Yeah. The reason Amari doesn't struggle with selenium and all his minerals is because I've been giving him lots of meat, right? But then you get all paranoid with him getting all freaking constipated, so you cut back. No, I'm going back to what I was doing. Poultry, fish, yeah, there's nothing here to show for pork, but I got other ones, right? I did more than just one, right? And then this is 100 G plus protein a day planner tracker. Protein, low calorie food chart. Well, I'm not trying to do a low calorie. I'm trying to do protein high calorie. But I don't have time to muck around on the computer and try and make my own, you know, where it's all already done for you. So I thought I'd try this. See if this is applicable to morning, snack, lunch. So protein goal, yeah. Calorie goal, yeah. So that's where I build in my recipes, okay? Based on these charts that I got. And then this is diabetes food list, because you have to keep in mind, just like you gotta build on the blood, right? Obviously, think about calories. Now, at the very top of that list is to shrink the bowels. So you gotta be even more careful, right? Because, you know, easy for you to say give them all these laxatives. For all we know, they could be interrupting with the absorption of the food, because diarrhea prevents absorption of nutrients. And that's just a fact. So if you always keep his bowels in a diarrhea state, right, where it's runny all the time, how much nutrients is he really going to absorb long term, right? And then you do a blood test, and now you're a bad nana because, you know, he's lacking in vitamins, even though you're feeding him pretty much the same food, except for maybe using those laxatives more regularly, which could be very well problematic. Just using that as an example, right? So, you know, I just thought I'd, and also too, you know, foods, what do you call it? I don't know if I like this. I don't know what this is. Foods, I don't know what this is. Can create spikes in blood sugar. So this is where you have to combine foods where that doesn't happen. Some foods release energy slower than other foods. You gotta, sounds good, high in calories, but at the same time, it can fill up the stomach where you don't want to eat. And that could become a problem. Like, there's so many variables in there, it's pathetic. I don't think I like this one. Well, what is this? Anyway, it's just to, so I got lots of books around the house. It's harder and harder to read light colored type, or like I go into my old papers where I did a lot of writing. I can't read them because they're written either, well, they're written in a pen. I can't really see them. So this is just hands-on, keep it close, and then if I ever have time and I'm more organized where I can focus more, then I'd pull out some of these beautiful books that I have and cross-reference to build on whatever it is that I'm doing at that time. So those ones I don't know about. That was just for general information purposes. And then we've got something else here. Oh, this is, what is this? This is, you know those pitchforks, right? That you hit and then you put on yourself. I bought for Amari. I have them down there. This is a book. So, muscle therapy. And then here's another chart. I haven't even opened them yet, right? Why do this when you can just open up a bag and plug it up to a feeding tube and who cares if he keeps getting infection at the entrant point because he moves around? But I suppose you could give him medicine to stop moving around so much. You know? Just saying. So the, you know, where you put the feeding tube, that little, whatever it's called, right? Because, you know, they get infected. Yeah, right. This one's anti-inflammatory. And this one is actually goes on the fridge, so this is nice. As a reminder, as you're familiarizing yourself with all that other information, right? I was actually looking for bigger charts, but it's not obviously what I found here. But whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going into stage 3 of the eviction. Stage 1 was when they wiped everything out of the yard. Stage 2 is when Marcaine got that 1-day eviction, get rid of everything because of sewage flooding the basement. And now it's stage 3. Coming up in the ranks. And then there's these ones. And I actually have a couple of more still coming. But they're coming away. They're coming far, far away. From far, far away. So I might not get, there's like, I don't know, I have to go onto Amazon. There's still a couple of more coming. Now, know your, oh yeah, another vitamin, which I'm going to be putting downstairs in the kitchen. And, you know, so Andre can learn not only for himself, because if you notice, right? Okay. Not only for himself, but obviously for Amari. Best foods. And then it says walnuts here and sardines. Tuna. You see, I don't give Amari tuna. If Amari goes into an actual foster care setting, there is a high probability that they would give him tuna and never, ever sockeye salmon. Canned tuna. They would give him canned tuna and never canned sockeye salmon. Never mind pink canned salmon. And how do I know this? Because when Sierra was young, 15 years old, and getting into trouble with that Norma, getting the kids to go out there and steal purses and all that shit, she did. She ended up getting into trouble, and they put her out in Abbotsford in some kind of place, right, to try and get her away from the drugs out here. She was like 15 or something like that. And she didn't want to be there, but it was done through court, right? And that woman, Sierra said, was every day was giving Sierra tuna sandwiches. I said, well, if she was giving you tuna sandwiches every day for the whole time that you were living there, it was for 2 reasons. 1, because it was cheap, and 2, she was trying to damage your brain with the high mercury. Yeah. So you want to throw foster parent in my face? Being unsupervised? Trusting that they're going to feed Amari properly? Yeah, okay. I'm talking like foster care. Not Tisha, not Marcane. They're not capable to do it on their own until they learn. The question is, do they want to learn? Tisha is more resigned just to put him on a feeding tube because that's the easy route and that's what the quote-unquote doctor says. But yet they ask, how did I get Amari's blood so good? Being that he's so skinny, right? It doesn't compute. Well, it does if you feed him and give him real food and good food, right? But, you know, well, there's a lot of charts here. Okay, so anyway, I bought these are nice. These are going downstairs somewhere in the kitchen. So as Andre learns to continue to cook for Amari, he learns for himself. This is what I bought it for. Talks about the vitamins, right? Okay, and it's easy to read. A, B1, B2, B3, B6, B7, B9, B12, which is coming in from your meats. A lot of it. There's C, D, E, and K, and of course there's other things involved as well. So, and then it just kind of shows you the food group with the name under it. So that's good, right? Now I can have this in my kitchen, but Tisha wouldn't put it in her kitchen because it doesn't match the decor. Marcane and Marina wouldn't put it in their kitchen because it doesn't match the decor. Right? Eat your vitamin. And then there's some kind of chart there I can't really see, but Andre can see. And then color, nutrients, health benefits, and types. And we're looking at, I don't know. We'll figure that out. And then this one is nutrients and minerals. That's what I bought it for. Because not only do I think about calories, I think about nutrients and minerals. I think about blood sugar. I think about overdosing on, you know, like certain food groups. Like, right, in terms of like too much salt. You got to be careful with the salt, right? You know, so, right. And oftentimes things have their own, they produce also their own salt. So that's something else to factor in, right? But controlling blood sugar is a big one, or how nutrients are absorbed and what types of nutrients are absorbed from it, and if there's anything that hinders it, like with spinach, right? You get sure, it says it has a lot of calcium, but chances of you absorbing that calcium by eating a lot of spinach, would be actually the exact opposite. So that's where you do the replacement with the kale and the bok choy and the Swiss chard, right? Which doesn't have as much other nutrients as spinach does, but you definitely get the calcium from it. So, yeah. So, you know, like, and I'm the one that's being, I don't know, hunted and plotted and schemed against. Insulted. That hasn't stopped. Called negligent. Yeah, right. Far from it. So I don't know what the future holds, people. I really don't. I can't imagine living in a basement suite above somebody that can't even put words to it anymore. It's so bizarre. Yeah. Or living with Tisha, waiting for her to go off like a rocket because she's frustrated with life in general and it isn't perfect and the work is kicking in and I'm not able to do it because, right, it's going to get harder and harder for me, but I'm the perfect doormat. And then eventually just be tossed out onto the streets with whoever's with me in that situation because she's moved on. Neither choice is a good choice for me. Neither. I can't say it's a bad choice for Amari until they try. Right? If they're willing to try, give them a chance to try. But at the same time, if all you're doing is putting a dollar amount on it, then you're bound to fail. And I think that's what bothers me. If you only do it for the money, then you're bound to fail. You will be that so-called foster care parent that will feed the child tuna every day so that you can save on the money and bank it so that you can eventually just say, I've had enough, can't deal with it no more, toss the child off to the side and run away with the money that you made because you were too damn cheap to buy him a can of freaking Sockeye salmon, which is better for him. The same kind of mentality. And as you say something, people get defensive. Versus learning from it, they just get defensive and then try and flip it on me. Well, you. Yeah, well, I'm still doing. And I'll lure her up. So he's not tucked away like some dirty little secret. I don't care who's trying to tuck him away. I'm gonna keep fighting the good fight. And that's including for Andre. Because I don't think just for one. I think for two. I have to make decisions for two, not just one. But for whatever strange reason, people seem to think I should be in some maze with no exits, with things crawling around in the dark, swiping here and swiping there, until, what? They catch me? And then what? Clearly they didn't want me to get away. Clearly they weren't trying to help me. What do you think's going to happen? Okay, I'm gonna go deal with that Swiss chard now. Have a good day. I'm gonna finish it on this because, whatever. Another thing that really irks me is the abuse around, doesn't matter where it comes from, who it's from, but when it relates to my kids, you know, get rid of your stuff. It's junk or whatever, right? In terms of, because they make good money. If they didn't have $100,000 a year crying on about they don't make enough money because the economy is so effed up and they have no prospect for whatever it is that they're looking for in life because $100,000 is pennies in the pocket. Where, you know, it's the complete opposite for me. And, you know, with the world, the way the world is right now in terms of, well, we can't even say global warming outside of to say a super duper El Nino now, which is like taken over 80% of the United States of America with parts of Europe and just everywhere everywhere, France or Paris or places like that, you know, not to mention India, in certain parts of India, and then of course we've got Africa, you know, and with the war, with the Hormuz Strait, with the oil tankers and the inability to have access to fertilizers, with the cattle herd disappearing in the United States of America to the lowest of low since like 71 or something like that, in terms of the number of cattle, is the lowest it's ever been, and they're not importing because of this global quote-unquote screwworm with politicians and billionaires trying to make us eat bugs and bring in AI where there's, you know, running these databases, heating up the planet because no, turn that down, I'm almost done. You know, heating up the planet where these databases that are collecting all this information on people or whatever they're doing are sucking up all the water, sucking up all the energy, making whole towns imploding where these data centers are being set up, as well as the water is disappearing, you know, the temperatures are rising, not to mention any other natural disaster that might develop from all of this mayhem that's going on. Droughts, right? The farms can't grow the grains, they can't grow the soya beans. You know, the vegetables are getting smaller, more expensive, right? Spoiling faster, right? You know, like with all this drama, you'd think that my kids would show even a little bit of gratitude that I did food prep to any type of capacity where it can offset the cost of living. No. No.
What are you going to do with all that food?
Well, I don't know. I'm entitled to a bedroom. Stuff it in the bedroom. Because I don't need a bedroom. I'm blind. Who am I entertaining in my bedroom? What I need is security. What I need is to know that I have food security and housing security for my family and me. Whatever family I'm so-called living with. But that's not good enough. That's a problem. Well, that's what you say now until 4 years go by and you're still facing the same damn crises. The war is still raging. The sun is shining and not going away. The planet is heating up even more. There's less meat on the table than there was before, outside of maybe go into the pantry and pull out an old jar from 2018 of good old-fashioned beef with no hormones in them and chow down on that and be grateful that your mother took the time to do that while she was alive, thinking about the damn future. And give it to your kids. Right? Because at the rate things are going, you're going to go to the grocery store and be lucky to find beef in comparison to a whole bunch of bug meal. Bug meal. They got you eating soya beans. Maybe one reason Amari's blood is so good is because I don't really ever cook with oil. Like oil, any kind of oil. I don't care what the oil is. I don't ever cook with it, ever. I like peanut oil. And once that's gone, well, if I think about it, I'll buy it again. But outside of that, like in terms of frying or something, no. I use bacon fat. Or the fat from the turkeys and the beef in terms of tallow and that kind of stuff, right? Just, the world is, you know, like, they say, I'm out of touch with reality. Yeah, okay. Go pay $52 for a roast. A little dinky thing like this. That may or may not have been grown in a lab for all you know. Yeah. I buy beef ribs, short ribs. I buy beef short ribs on sale when I can get them for $8.99 a pound. Right? I take the meat and the fat off the bone. I freeze the bone for that soup base later on, bone broth. And then I defat the short rib of most of the fat, separate it so that if I want to fry something, all I have to do is render that fat after, I freeze it right now, that's what I've done. I do have jars already canned with tallow in it in case of an emergency or whatever I want to do with it at some point in the future, right? And, they're like, oh, 1 tablespoon of oil gives off this much calories. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't really ever use oil. I have oil in the house. If it goes bad, I suppose we could use it for lanterns, whether for fun or for, in case if the grid goes down and there's no hydro for lights. I've got those handheld lanterns with the glass, and you put the right. I have several of those just in case. You can make homemade lanterns for old cooking oil that you never use, and so get rid of it. Yeah, okay. Until you need it. You put me in the dark. It's bad enough you're putting yourself in the freaking dark, but you made it so that you put me in the damn dark so you can come and whack me around because you're not happy with your life all of a sudden because it's dark and you don't have no oil to even make a imitation freaking lantern so that you can see something. But that will never happen. That's not the real world. Stuff like that never happens. And if it does, it only happens somewhere else. Never mind the global food supply is like shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. But I suppose when you make $100,000 a year or more, looking for more money, because it's all about money, then I suppose you have nothing to worry about. And I just have to accept that and come to terms with it. Your values are not my values. And just because you think I should do something doesn't mean I have to. And that's the way it's going to rock. That's the way it's going to rock. Yeah, that's the way it's going to rock. You're not going to lock me up in some fucking closet and then tell me that I can't fucking talk to anybody because there's something wrong with me. Yeah, okay, there's something wrong with me. I don't think so. Or anything like along those terms from anybody, regardless, I don't care who. I'll take the government to court because they want me to sign up with MAID to get rid of the problem. So before I sign up with MAID, I'd file another lawsuit. I'd fight them on it. How dare you tell me that I don't qualify for dignity in my life because of whatever, right? And the solution is to sign me up to MAID because I won't quote unquote comply. Yeah, right. What am I complying with? For my grandson to be stuck with freaking canned tuna for the rest of his life until he becomes that commodity that so many people desperately want when it comes to living a long, prosperous life. And if not for them, then for their quote-unquote children, being that Amari is a child. Yeah. Okay. No, I want Amari to live a long, prosperous life. That's what I want. And I want him to be in a home where he's actually loved and cared about and not seen as a dollar amount to some agenda that at the end of the day doesn't include him. Yeah. Me, I don't mind making a statement. Amari can't make a statement. I can, though. Will my statement be heard? Will it make a difference? Probably not. Because people are spiritually dead. There are so many people that are so spiritually dead in this world. Too many to even count. So, in that situation, you do what you can do, no more than what you can do, and that's it. But yeah, before they think about ripping up this house, throwing out my freaking food storage and all that shit, I'm telling you, people, I'll go out and I'll start a freaking boarding house and I'll take my food with me, and it is what it is, because, and yeah, I'll continue to fight the good fight, one way or another. I don't know what the hell that fight is, right? All I know is I'm being freaking gang stalked here to one degree or another, and I have to find a way to navigate around it where, whatever injuries to whoever gets injured is minimal. And the information is presented ethically and correctly without it being twisted, manipulated, in terms of falsifying records, writing in misinformation to cover tracks, to hide facts, for self-interest reasons, for whatever reason people do it for, right? When it comes to falsifying records, the narrative, you know, the story, right? Not telling the truth, or whatever, so that they can win at the cheats, right? Yeah. The people who like to cheat just so that they can win. Doesn't matter what they're winning at, as long as they win. Well, being locked up in a closet isn't winning, in my opinion. And if it is for them, well, then go find another sucker to do it. Right? And if all you're going to do is put down roots just to rip them up and throw them in the freaking trash, compost bin, and then out the door, take the money and run, that ain't a solution either for anybody. Okay, so if you made it this far into the video, this is the last time I'm going to say something, I'm going to convert it over and upload it. I was going to put it on the computer first, and then I'm going to delete everything. I'm going to take the camera downstairs with me, because there's that wall unit that I need to get into Auntie Shemay's room, and that's a big chore, because I have to move a bunch of shit first just to be able to get it that way, and that's going to require bending, lifting, twisting, straining, and I've already been up since 3:30, and it's now going on 11:45, so you do the math on that one. It's like 9.5 hours already, or 8.5 hours, or whatever the hell it is. I'm just having my second coffee, so I'm not even going to try to eat. I'm just going to suck it up, buttercup. Do that daily grind wherever that daily grind takes me, so people can say I ain't doing enough, and I'm not doing it fast enough, and I'm not doing it to their likings. But besides that point, and then I'll do a little video down there for a minute or two on something, and try and stay positive, right? I got my charts that I want to put, so maybe to motivate me, I'll take that one that can go on the fridge downstairs just to get me stay focused on I always tell Andre, you get up in the morning and you think of the priorities. Who and what is the priority? Amari is the priority. Andre is feeding Amari, and he's eating it. Is he still eating it? Yeah. Normally we give him something to drink, medicine, then something to drink, and then eventually some food. We try and let the medicine just be absorbed, either or. Today it was like, no drink today, you get your medicine. You gave him a little sip in between though, right? Yeah. Okay, and he get a little sip of drink, because that's what he's used to, right? The drink, right? Like juice or milk, normally milk with the vitamin D or something like that, right? And then about an hour after that or whatever, he gets his food, and And then pedicures and yada, 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 all day. It's an all-day affair, but I always tell Andre, like, you know, what is the priority? Amari is the priority. Feeding, changing, keeping him comfortable, keeping him safe, yada, yada, that's the priority. And then you pick basically one goal for the day in terms of a small goal or a big goal, because sometimes those small goals can take a long time to accomplish, right? You know, or the big goal, which takes the most of your energy, right? So the big goal for me was supposed to be yesterday for that wall unit, but it didn't happen. And it didn't happen the day before because Andre got to go bike riding with Brad with the electric bikes. And then yesterday I sent him to the store, and when I found out that these peppers were coming in at 69 cents each, I said, go back and buy me 3 more big bags. So I don't know, he bought some big bags, and I'm probably going to send them back later on today as soon as I get this wall unit in, depending how tired I am, because, you know, it requires a lot of energy, right? And I don't even know if I ate yesterday. I ate 2 chocolate bars. That's all I can remember. I drank coffee. I'm so bad. And I'm not eating right now because I don't want to crash, people. I don't want to crash. Like, you know, it's because I got that fucking whip on my back, on my legs, on my arms, on all over my body, you know. I'm in that maze with those freaking cats not letting me out as they're stalking me right inside of the freaking maze, ready to lock me up in a basement, in a closet, who knows where, until they don't want me no more, and then they're just going to toss me off the fucking side as they abuse me while they do it. Like, that's just the way it is. Because of the way our society is. As the world is heating up. And people are, like, oblivious to it. Because they think their little bit of money that they have, 100,000 or whatever, 80,000, 60,000, 200,000 or whatever the heck it is, they think they're going to be insulated from all this crap that's coming, that's here right now and getting worse. Not better, just worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And the one that tried to prepare for a little bit of that trouble is like a can being kicked down the street. It's hard on me emotionally because I'm so worried for Amari, and I have to think about Andre too and his needs. Emotional, physical, the whole, you know, intellectual, just all of it, right? And they're not leaving me too many choices because they're already setting the stage for a deja vu, in my opinion. Now, it could be just me overreacting, because it's not like I'm not aware or I understand or whatever, but at the same time, whatever these people are doing from the government's end is not, it's that forked tongue. Let me help you. We're only trying to help you. Well, how does it help me when you're putting everybody at risk by dividing the core group who basically look after Amari, and that would be Andre and me? You're dividing us. You're separating us. And if you're not dividing or separating us, you're putting us in precarious positions where we ultimately get abused psychologically to one degree or another, which is not healthy. And once that happens in a family unit, and it bounces to what? The grandkids? Like living with my son. Oh, just don't talk to Marina. You can never talk to Marina. We'll live with you maybe if she says it's okay. But the one rule is you're not allowed to talk to her. Well, then fuck off. I'll just go on my merry way. No, we can't do that, Mom. We can't let you just go on your merry way because that wouldn't be the right thing to do. Too fucking bad. You think I'm going to have some 28, 29-year-old nobody put their thumb on me, telling me I can't talk to them unless it's an absolute emergency, as if the response would be freaking mature? Oh, you can be mature in an emergency, but you can't be mature on day-to-day fucking basic stupid shit? That is more important than the emergency? Because if you do the basic daily shit the right way, consistently, with a good attitude, you can probably avoid the emergency. But clearly you want one. By isolating and separating and psychological warfare. So the door is closed. And then to be told there's not enough money yet. Even if you combined all three of us together under one roof, it's still not enough fucking money. Well, then go do it solo. Go do it on your own. Sink or swim. I don't give a shit. You made your fucking bed. Go lie in it. And when it all blows up in your face and you don't get what you want, don't say I didn't warn you. Because sometimes when you want things in life, you just don't get it. Sometimes you work for things in life and you still don't get it because there's a whole lot of freaking thieves around you that are going to take, steal, lie up in your face, trick you, right? And you'll end up still with nothing. Except for maybe your dignity, your self-worth, self-esteem, your honor. How about that? You want a $4,000 fucking couch? Go ahead. Sooner or later it's going to get old and you won't have $4,000 to replace it. And then what? Who are you going to take it out on? Who are you going to blame? I'd like to know because I ain't going to be around to hear it. I'm just saying. And if Amari ends up in foster care, you know I'm luring, like a lawyer, luring up. Because that's not a solution either. Especially when he had two people who gave up their life for him and do the daily grind and love him. And have done absolutely nothing wrong to be mistreated by some stupid system that puts a dollar amount on a child, waves the dollar around as if it's going to be bait so that they can get a caregiver? Just pay the foster parent. There we go. Problem solved. Yeah, right. Are you watching and seeing how they're feeding him? Do you care? What do you care? As long as you get a paycheck, right? You don't care if they're giving him tuna every day. Well, I do, so I'm going to fucking lawyer up and make sure he's not getting fucking tuna. I want to see the receipts that he's being fed sockeye salmon at $7 a can. If you can't find it on sale. And I got enough in this house of sockeye salmon alone, people, to feed him for years. The rivers can dry up, the ocean can dry up, and I can still feed my grandson with the, heat wave, right? With all this heat domes and all this shit. The oceans are dying. I can still feed my grandson sockeye salmon 2 times, 3 times a month for years. Years! Until people come in and take their grubby little hands and dig into it and say, oh, I don't want this, but I'll keep this because this is sockeye salmon and I'll eat it. And maybe I'll give Mari a can once in a while. Because, he's just a little boy and doesn't need it as much as I do, being that it's here now and ain't nobody watching me rob the pantry, only take what you want and throw the rest out and call it garbage. It doesn't work like that in the real world. Unless, of course, you're living in some fucking fantasy, thinking, oh, well, I'm a rich bitch, I'm a rich bastard, I got all this money, I'm rolling in the dough, but it's never enough because the economy is all messed up. But at the end of the day, I'm going to survive the storm, and I'm going to come out ahead by hook or by crook, by any means necessary, even if it means sacrificing my family to do it. Oh, but they're not my family. They're just extended nobodies. Nobodies that really matter outside of how much money can I get for looking after them now that they're either too old, blind, or physically damaged by a healthcare system that tried to hide it for 8 years. I didn't hide it, they hid it. And now that it's coming to the surface and I'm ready to go talk to a lawyer about it, all of a sudden social workers are showing up talking about, oh, well, you'll still have guardianship, but we're just going to take him away and give him to Tisha. Oh, okay. As if Tisha's good at taking them to doctors. She can watch them for a day or two. But when it comes to that daily grind, with her germ phobia, do you honestly think she can do what Andre and I do at 4 o'clock in the morning when Amari shits out with diarrhea because those so-called healthcare professionals say pump him up with a whole lot of freaking laxatives as you're pumping him up with freaking drinks that constipate him so bad that you have to give him the laxatives? To the point where he takes a poop and it just leaking out all over the place? And then you wake up in the morning and you have to start washing shitty fucking this and shitty fucking that. 3 loads back to back to back. And you do it because you love him and you want him to survive. And you want to find a way to get a balance in there where it's not so problematic for you and better for him without everybody nattering in your ear saying that you don't do enough, you don't do it good enough, you are this, you. But you do it for the money. Yeah, right. I'm not the one asking for more than $4,000 a month to look after my grandson. I'm not the one that abandoned him when he was 1 year old and I found out that he was disabled. And you don't see me running away from the problem right now.